And now it's time for a preview of an upcoming game by Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we have a preview of a game called Ortus. Ortus is a two-player abstract strategy game where you will control different pawns, earth, water, fire, and air, and you're attacking your opponent. It's a very fast-paced game, and you're going to be spending points to do different actions on your turn, but saving enough points hopefully to fend off their attacks. Let me show you how it's played. This is one side of the board for Ortus. Now, again, as I say in all my prototype previews, what you're seeing here is just a prototype. While some of this may look closer to final, I know, for example, that I think these pawns are pretty cool looking, but the ones for the game are actually nicer, and you even have a chance to upgrade for metal minis if you want. But each player is going to start with two of each of the colors. We have air, we have water, we have earth, and we have fire. And you can set them up any way you basically want to. Each player also is going to have a track over here where they keep track of their energy. And at the middle of the board here is the core. This is the haven where you have your people. And then you have the guide, a piece that will start off the board. Now on your turn, you can spend your energy as you want. You can save your energy for a defensive counter against your opponent. But you cannot, at the beginning of your next turn, you will get energy based on where you are. See, in the middle of the board, there's these energy wells. And these energy wells are set up differently based on the board. But if I control, let's say, 2 of the energy wells, then over here on the energy track, instead of starting at 14, which is where you normally start, I'd start at 22. Notice you can control 4 energy wells and get up to 28 energy. If for some reason at the beginning of your turn you control 5 energy wells, well then congratulations, you've just won the game. Now players will be usually spending their energy to move. So for example, I can move and attack with each of my people, so I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I just spent 7 energy to do that. I can move this guy here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that costs 4 energy to do that. Now, you can also attack people. If you move adjacent to somebody, you can attack them with a normal attack. An attack is free, and it's 3 power, which means if they do not, the defensive player does not spend 3 energy, then they are removed off of the board. You can also do ranged attacks. When you're done moving, ranged attacks can be done by the red and yellow pieces, by earth and wind. The ranged attack costs 1, 2, 3, 4, the distance between you and the other person, including the hex that they're on. So you would pay that much energy, and then that has a power of 4. So they would have to pay 4 to block it, or they are removed from the board. The blue and green pieces, earth and water, have a charge ability, which basically means they can pay to move and attack someone in the same turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and attack. If that attack has a power of 5, and that they must block, while it costs you the energy it costs to run up and attack the person. Now, when you attack someone and you're successful and they come off the board, you get to place your guide into your haven. And then each other person that you take off the board, you get to move your haven up. If your haven reaches the core in the middle, then you've won. Now at the end of your turn, anybody who you might have off the board comes back on into your haven, although one of them can go onto your guide. So as your guide goes out farther, you have a chance to bring people back on. And the first person to either get their guide to the core or to control 5 of the energy wells is the winner of the game. Now that's the apprentice game. In the full game, each of the different colors has special abilities. For example, the wind piece cannot move like normal. It can move for free, but it moves basically flying as far as you can in a straight line until it hits either a wall or it hits another pawn, and you can't stop halfway through, so they like float on the wind. And they have regular ranged attacks. The earth units cannot be seen unless there's an earth unit from the opposing side who has a straight line to them. So they have a defensive, they can't be attacked, and they can charge someone and hit them with an attack that's a 6 power. The problem is it costs them 2 for each hex they move rather than a normal 1. The fire guys, if they both are lined up on the same guy, they can do a free attack like called the Phoenix, and they also can cause someone who is between the two of them, they give them a defensive barrier where the hardest attack against him would be a 2. And the water guys can attack people in groups. They can hit them for 3 each, or they can attack somebody with a charge. When they hit them, hits the first guy for 5, then 3, then 1, straight down in a line. Now this changes the game dramatically as to how these play, because you have to remember the different special abilities, and they move very differently than in the basic game. So let me quick, before we end this part, show you what the other side of the board looks like. You can see that it's basically just different layouts of the energy wells, and that's how you play it. The two different games of Ortus are played very differently. The Apprentice game is very simple compared to the Master game. Really it is, because in the Master game it really matters where you move pieces. I mean, I have a affinity to the water. I love their basically blast attack, and the fact that they also have that ranged wave attack. Very thematic, and they're very strong, but not very good defensively, while the earth pieces have a very good defense and can be really powerful, but very expensive to move. The wind people, you kind of set them all around the board. I move my other pawns trying to make them so they can move into the right spots to get into attacks. And then the flame guys can be good on offense, but they're really useful on defense. And so that's a very interesting Master game, and I think some people like to play both, but I think there's going to be a different appeal. I think the Apprentice game, you could teach it to anybody and be up and running really quickly. The Master's game you can teach to people, but it's not going to be running up as quickly because there's more going on. It would take, in fact, they recommend you play with the basic game first, and I definitely agree on that, and then ease your way into the Master's game. Not because it's hard to understand, it's just a little hard to grok on how the pieces move. So it's an interesting game because you have this energy, and it really promotes attacking. There's no point in this game to being defensive, because you can only win by either consistently attacking your opponent and killing them, or by controlling 5 energy wells. And either way, you're going to have to be very proactive and get out on the board. That means the game is never going to be slow. It's get out there, attack, 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 and see who wins. And you do have that balance. How many points are you going to save to defend your guys with? Or will you just spend all your points in a big attack? They might kill a couple of your guys, but hopefully that's good enough for you to win the game. Very interesting seesawing back and forth. The game is already funded, so easy for you to jump aboard. You know the game will be produced. In just a moment, I'll show you the link for the Kickstarter, and you can back it, Ortus.
Thanks for watching our review today. For more information about board games, as well as the #1 board game audio podcast, check out Dicetower.com for reviews, interviews, and more. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.